after that interception happened, maybe I don't have this 100% right, but I don't recall him even throwing an incomplete pass the rest of the game.
He was perfect in the fourth quarter.
He was perfect in the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying.
So for all intents and purposes, he didn't throw an incomplete pass for the rest of the game, and I don't even know if he in reality did, just literally. But yeah, Jared Goff, after that interception, you could tell that he was upset at himself. You could tell that it bothered him. But what he did to respond to that is he made it up to his team. He led a touchdown drive that was culminated in a clutch fourth down pass to Tim Patrick, and then once the Packers retook the lead, he went and led another touchdown drive. So Jared Goff certainly did his job. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, another game in which he had a passer rating over 100. Despite the bad interception, I still think that this was an MVP statement game for Jared Goff.
I definitely do. Like you said, there are going to be things that happen. And even on that pass, as he was making it, to me, it looked like mid-throw, he looked like he wished he could take that back. Because it was just a bad interception, and after that, he was perfect in the fourth quarter of that game. And to me, that is what's telling about who Jared Goff is. Even when you look back at the Texans game, where he had some really bad interceptions, 2 of them, 2 to 3 of them, I could put definitely on him. Another couple of them were just bad luck plays. But when it was winning time, it was on Jared Goff's shoulders, and those are the things. Obviously, Jake Bates' leg as well, but Jared Goff to put them in position as the quarterback. That's what I've come to expect out of Jared Goff. I don't like. It's no longer faith. I expect it. I know that we used to talk a lot about Matthew Stafford and those fourth quarter comebacks and whatnot. You think about who Jared Goff has been over the last 2.5 seasons of winning football and being a prime reason. Think about how many games we remember where it's been the Detroit Lions either icing the in victory formation because they got a big first down, or they're kicking the field goal, or they got a big touchdown just before kicking it off to the other team for a few seconds to run off. So it's just like Jared Goff is a common denominator with all of these close victories. Sometimes Jake Bates might be the guy that gets the walk-off, but it's always Jared Goff who has to dial up the drive to get them down the field as the leader of this team's offense. And to me, when you continue to do that over and over and over and over and over again, that's elite and special. Our best quarterbacks in the league, only some of those guys do that. Think about that. Only some of those guys do that. A lot of the guys in the league that they want to try and elevate or that they view above Jared Goff, they don't do that. But Jared Goff continues to be one of the main difference makers in the fourth quarters for the Detroit Lions, game after game. That's clutch, and to me, that is part of the definition of being an MVP.
Well, of course, that's the icing on the cake to his MVP case. The fact that when the Lions needed just a field goal drive and to take all the time off the clock, I think all of us felt very confident that Jared Goff was going to get the job done. In my humble opinion, I was just, at that point, I was at Hayes, but I wasn't on. It was Neil and KG. When the Lions were able to hold the Packers to a field goal to where the Packers tied the score with a little less than 5 minutes left, I'm like, Lions are going to go drive down the field and take all the time off the clock. And that's something that just, as a Lions fan my whole life, it's amazing the confidence that I have in this team now versus the lack thereof in previous years. And we certainly don't need to bring that up. It's more to highlight how far they've come. And another thing that I want to highlight as well is that Jared Goff did a phenomenal job of spreading the ball around. Everybody ate last night, even if a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't put the numbers up that we're accustomed to.
Break a record? I believe they said it was historic last night. I think with at least five or six receivers with at least 5 receptions or more in the game.
6 receivers with at least 5 receptions.
That's
You had Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, Tim Patrick, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and shout out to Sonic and Knuckles, David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs, putting their mark on the game when they didn't even have their best days on the ground.
That's insane to me because you know what? We talked about this. We talked about this yesterday. We kept hearing the same thing. Man, that play action of Detroit, they play actioned the Green Bay Packers to death. And they just couldn't keep up with it. And you know what I noticed as well? And I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Sherman. He was like, they didn't really expose too much because what if these teams meet up again? And Carlton Davis, I loved what he said. We'll meet them next year. Now, hopefully this year. They're not scared. And when you look at that offense, you look how they spread the ball a while. You look at the fact that I didn't see really too many trick plays. I didn't see them really put anything out there. The offense was literally, hey, play action, and running back out the backfield. Play action, Tim Patrick across the middle. Play action, J-Mo across the middle. play action, Amon-Ra across the middle. And it was like, just hey, this is what we do. Copy, paste, repeat, copy, paste, repeat. And to me, I believe that if they meet up with the Packers again in the playoffs, they kept things as vanilla as they could. And they still went out there and put up 34 points on offense.
Still put up 34 points, which is actually above their season average. So you got to give shout out to them. And, man, Neil Rule can just never let anything go, can he?
Oh, boy.
I didn't mean to say that Jared Goff, that was what if I said it was one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. That's not what I meant. It's one of the worst interceptions that he's thrown this year. That's to clarify. But Neil, I think you're excusing the particular play a little bit too much, but shout out to Jared Goff. He made that one bad play and then came back and did nothing but great things the rest of the game. So we can kumbaya on that, but it certainly wasn't one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in the NFL. And if I said that, my apologies.
It's incredible, man, to think about how many people are out in the Lions still are just going in and just body bagging teams, man. This is incredible right now. And like I said, that with Jared Goff, he's been one of those guys that epitomizes as well, cleaning up on the mistakes and trying not to have the back-to-back ones. That's what makes the Houston Texans game so uncharacteristic when you see him, but he was still able to go and clean it up. Like, we've seen this team be able to be so resilient in a plethora of ways. Going back to the Bears game where Jared Goff did not have, last year where Jared Goff did not have one of his best days, and they were still able to go in the fourth quarter and put up a couple touchdowns to pull that victory out. And to see them be able to have those types of drives, to see them go and do something that I don't normally see them do, man, they passed it against the LA Rams in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford, all the narratives in Ford Field, they passed it for a first down to salt the game away. We have not seen that. As simple as that sounds, we haven't seen this. When our teams needed to be able to get that extra yard, to have an opportunity to have a Jake Bates be in position, a lot of times we didn't get that. A lot of times when we needed to be able to go and just get that one extra first down, sometimes we didn't get that, and all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers is getting the ball or Brett Favre is getting the ball, depending on how many different eras of football you've seen, and then they're throwing some stupid Hail Mary, and they're completing it, and we're walking away like, man, and there were so many seasons, I counted it before, where it was like these types of plays cost us playoff spots, but not anymore, because we have a leader in Jared Goff, who I don't care what it looks like. These other teams in the division, I'm sorry, if you're not saying what I used to say about Aaron Rodgers, about Brett Favre, about some of these other quarterbacks, even Kirk Cousins to a degree, Jared Goff is that guy right now who's at the top of this division as a quarterback, and he is beating everybody's favorite quarterback right now.
Top of the division, top of the NFC, quite frankly, when it comes to quarterbacks. That is for damn sure.
Oh, my gosh, man, does it feel so good. This Victory Friday show, Detroit Lions 34-31 victory over the rival Green Bay Packers at Ford Field. We sweep them for the series. We clinch a playoff spot. We move to 12-1. We take another step towards clinching the NFC North and towards clinching the NFC's number one seed, which I do believe for this squad is going to be very, very, very vital for them to get that first week bye in the playoffs. And you know what, Flannel?
Yes.
I believe that if you would ask a lot of people, is it a safe bet that the Detroit Lions would give up 100 yards rushing for the game? I'm not even saying 100-yard rushing running back, because I heard that Jacobs was going to get there. He didn't. He got to 66 yards. Mm-hmm. And he got 3 touchdowns. So we're not going to sneeze at that. But the Green Bay Packers ended the game with 99 yards total, whereas the Detroit Lions ended the game with 111 yards on the ground.
Oh, my
Jahmyr
goodness.
Gibbs, somebody who we thought was going to be able to have a field day, he didn't necessarily have the field day we thought he would on the ground. But each and every run, you can tell this guy is a tough tackle every single time, man. He did put up in this game a total from scrimmage, 43 yards rushing, and the receiving yards another 30, 73 yards. So they get that 70 yards from scrimmage again. And he does catch a touchdown, and then he goes over 1,000 rushing yards for the season. Pushes his total yards again further above 1,000 yards. We got to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
We have to.
His total yards, I'm doing quick math, 1,328, and he eclipsed the 1,000.
13 games.
Yes. Yeah, that's over 100 per game. And he eclipsed the 1,000-yard rushing mark, which is really the ultimate benchmark as an NFL running back. You love to see it. And for the second consecutive year, he didn't get one on the ground last night, but he has 10 rushing touchdowns for the second consecutive year, which is another one of those benchmarks that you like to see him get as a starting running back. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, he didn't have the game that we're accustomed to. He didn't have 6-7 yards per carry in this particular game, but he ran hard. He still had some big runs. He had that touchdown catch. And I think every single running back, no matter who you are, no matter if you're Barry Sanders or Walter Payton or the like, you're going to have games where just sometimes the holes aren't there. Sometimes you just got to get the tough 2, 3, or 4 yards when you have to, and sometimes you have to contribute in other ways. I wanted to highlight him, not because he was not because it was his standout game or anything, but because 1,000 yards?
Yeah.
1,000 yards in 13 games. I didn't even foresee this, and I thought that Jahmyr Gibbs was trending towards maybe being the best running back in the NFL, but this man might end up with 1,400 before the year's end, and he might end up with the third or fourth most in the NFL when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and that's where it's awesome to see Jahmyr Gibbs having this type of success. Because it's exactly as Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes described. It's just another example of them calling their shot and knocking it out the park. And where I really liked him in the development of his game is not just knowing that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, but it's the precision and the cleanness to his route running. That touchdown catch was crisp. The way he leaped out the backfield, the way he read where the linebacker was going to be, and just to be on point timing-wise. Because Jared Goff had to fit that ball in there between the defender that was spying on Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, as well as the safety help that was coming from the broader part of the end zone. And it was just perfect. It looks easy, but we've seen previous Lions teams where if these things are not on point, I'm sorry, you're getting blown up at the red zone. I don't have too many fears and worries about the Lions when they do get into the red zone. I honestly think that they're going to score every single time that they're in the red zone. And when they don't, I feel like it's a disappointment. In large part, it's because you have guys like a David Montgomery and now a Jahmyr Gibbs who's proving he can run between the tackles. Another thing that I liked about him as well is this. The Green Bay Packers were selling out to stop the run. They came in here saying, we know what your strength is. We know what your strength is. And I believe that they dared Jared Goff to beat them with the throw over the middle. And I believe that they basically say, we're not going to give you the run. That has to be called out. Their defense was getting into that backfield sometimes faster than it felt like the ball was getting into the hands of Goff at the snap. And to know that those running backs, we talk about, okay, 2-3 yards a carry. I believe if those were any lesser running backs, we're talking about some of those being like 2 and 3 yard losses. Yeah. When instead we saw them fight to get back to the line of scrimmage. Those don't necessarily go on the stat sheet the way we would think. It does show up because we don't see the negative yardage taken away, but them fighting just to get back to the line of scrimmage. And think about how important that is, because how many fourth downs in shorts did they find themselves in? So that's why I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to shout them out in the things that are grand, the 1,000 yards on the season, pushing your total yards up to 1,300, almost 1,400 yards, catching that touchdown. And whoever knows, bro, that linebacker's jockstrap is still up in the rafters. But you go out there, you're fighting every single play. It's like, I just want to be able to make sure that is called out, because I didn't think, honestly, that Jahmyr Gibbs had that type of dog in him. I thought he was going to be a weapon, but he's going out there and he's doing the stuff that they can say, well, you know, usually these are David Montgomery type runs. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs is here. Yeah. He's a ride.
Yeah, and I know that I've said it before. I've said it a million times. You guys are probably tired of me here saying it, but I'll say it again. Jahmyr Gibbs has proven to me, and I saw it firsthand for really the first time in that Raiders game last year, that he's not a weapon. He's not somebody who's going to get, 700 to 800 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards. He is a great running back. And that's what he's continued to show. That's what he showed throughout the season, even last night. I mean, hey, he's a running back catching the ball out of the backfield. He could have dropped it on fourth down. You know what I mean? Yep. Even making a catch where you're wide open on fourth down, that's a lot of pressure. And you mentioned something that I wanted to highlight as well. There were a couple of times you mentioned the Packers selling out for the run. You mentioned the Packers doing, for the most part, a really good job, getting a lot of penetration into the backfield. Frank Ragnow didn't have his best day, but that's all well and good. You're still Frank Ragnow. But there were moments where it almost looked like the Packers nose tackle or the Packers defensive tackle would almost get Jared Goff down before he could hand it off.
Yeah. Several times. And that's what I'm saying. Like, their game plan, it worked to perfection. And I believe, I talked about this before on our show yesterday, Sometimes I want to see the Lions just go out there and just do their game plan. And I believe that the friction that we saw was them trying to do that. There were plays where I was like, man, I hope they're passing on us down. I hope it's a quick pass. I hope it's what we just saw work a couple of other times. But they still went to the run. Sometimes right into the face of the defense for just a 1 yard gain. And sometimes I wonder, like, okay, why are they doing this? It's you gotta stick to your identity. You don't know necessarily what's going to spring. When you start to cower and you start to kind of crater to what the other team wants you to, that's different than saying we take what the defense gives us. You game plan for if the defense is going to sell out to stop the run or to stop the pass. And when they had to rely on, okay, then, all right, we're going to dial up the passes because that's what the situation, that's what we always hear them. The situation, that's what the numbers say, that's what the board says, that's what the advanced metrics say. Jared Goff across the middle of the field. Bing, 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 bing. Those are